You're listening to the Downeast Mike podcast, the quirky little podcast from Maine. And now, your host, Downeast Mike.
Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Good morning, everybody. This is Downeast Mike and the Downeast Mike podcast. I was AWOL last week, and I apologize for being a little bit under the weather. And we want to thank Frank Nord for stepping in so ably to fill this rather large seat. And he did a great job, I think, filling in. You know, he's kind of cranky when you call him at 2 in the morning and say you got to do the podcast. But, you know, it's kind of funny. And I was there in the bed with a thermometer in my mouth, and I had the little ice pack on my head to break the fever, and I got to watch the podcast from afar. And it's kind of fun to sit back and look at the other people doing your work for you. I think it's kind of like the Maine way. We do enjoy it. Well, this is Downeast Mike, episode 77, news and commentary for February 10th, 2023. It's Friday. Our motto, if you're new to the podcast, is some of this is whimsy, some of it's true, and the interpretation of it all is entirely up to you. And we should ask you if you realize that the Downeast Mike podcast contains no mean words, just wholesome goodness from Downeast Maine. It's a historical, literary, auditory candy store. And we do ask, did you notice the bells on the door when you came in? The little tinkling bells. That signifies that you've entered the room. Welcome to the Downeast Mike zone. Oh, Lord, I hope you're having a good day. It's still winter, but we're going to be losing that snow soon, I have a feeling. I've seen the long-range climate forecast, and there's nothing but a tropical heat wave coming our way. It's just going to get rid of all the snow. Mud season comes early to Maine. Let's look at the world headlines. If you're just getting up, I'll read these to you. Pence receives subpoena from prosecutors examining Trump's January 6th role. That's important. Bullying ran rampant at high school where the teen was filmed being beaten. That was a real sad story. The U.S. may target Chinese entities linked to a spy balloon. Representative Angie Craig was attacked in her D.C. apartment building. She was in an elevator, Congresswoman Craig, and she got attacked and she threw hot water on him. Pretty clever, huh? Senator John Fetterman remains hospitalized. Test reveal no stroke. They'll be keeping him there for a while and testing him over and over, I'm sure, looking for signs of something. Biden says Chinese spy balloon's not a major security breach. I always think of Winnie the Pooh holding on to the balloon. I think that's what was going on there. Missing New Jersey teacher found dead in a shallow grave. And U.S. pushes for more UN aid corridors to Syria in the wake of devastating earthquakes. That's pretty much all we need on the international front. Let's look at main headlines if there's anything interesting. Self-proclaimed filth elder bringing his bad taste to Maine's seacoast, mid-coast. That's that director. What's his name? His name is John Waters. This guy's got that little weird mustache on his upper lip. Looks like he penciled it in. He's bringing his bad taste to the theater in Waldoboro to celebrate a Pride event. Don't want to miss that one. Maine just had its warmest ever January, is the headline. I don't know how far back in time they go, but regulators will investigate Electricity Maine's sharp rate hikes. Those meanies. Anything else local here? Pet store chain with 8 Maine locations files for bankruptcy. You'd think you could make money from selling pet food in Maine. Falmouth man faces a 5-year sentence for fraud. Police responding to a multi-vehicle crash in Wyndham. A lot of this is not really news, is it? And anything else here of significance that we see locally? Portland's getting its own Monopoly board, but competition for a spot is fierce. Okay, that's enough of that stuff. Let's look at today's podcast. Okay, Space Shuttle test on this day in February 10th, 1977. Trooper Spitzer boards a school bus in Waldoboro with a ruler, 1977. Smallpox vaccinations in Maine from 1894 on this day. And the Maine state flower is not a flower. All right, we're going to go right to our word of the day. Our word of the day is grumpy. And grumpy is an adjective. This is what Frank Norwood was the other day when we called him. Grumpy, and some of the synonyms are grouchy, peevish, petulant, ratty, prickly, irascible, snarky and stuffy, waspish, testy. Grumpy, we didn't want a real challenging word today. Grumpy was first found in literature in 1778. And some of the related words, grumpily or grumpiness. The Scottish variant is grumphy, Grumpie. And grumpy was also used as a generic word for a pig. So that's where it comes from, a grumpy. Our neighbor is some example sentences. I bet you can find some example sentences of your own. Our neighbor is a grumpy old man. I was feeling grumpy after my long flight. Part of me wants to be grumpy that DJ2 is buzzing drones around Everest, but the footage is amazing. That's kind of a light use of the word grumpy, isn't it? First used in 1778. Some of the other words that first came into common use in phrases at that in 1778. Electrophorus. Embarrassing was first used in literature in 1778. Kingbird, pea bean, sawhorse, ship worn, shower bath, sick headache, soft wooded, sorty, tree toad and underrated, William Tell, and yank all first came into use in literature in 1778. I'm suspicious of that date. All right, happy birthday today to Mark from Bath. He'll be 46 as of 11 a.m. this morning. He expects to end the day at the pub down by the shipyard with some pals. Happy birthday, Mark. Happy birthday today also to Ingrid of New Sweden. She turns 94. She's very grateful. Ingrid's going to have her large family stopping by this weekend for sledding and an outdoor bonfire. Let's hope the snow sticks around long enough for that. On this day, 1977, we look at the forecast on this day. At this time, it's mostly sunny with highs in the 30s. On this day, 1977. One of the headlines, drinking age was coming under fire, juvenile crime has increased, and drinking problems have spread to elementary schools since the legal drinking age was lowered to 18. That was 18 years, 1977. They cited examples of students arriving drunk at school and suggested that the lower drinking age accounted for increases in vandalism and highway accidents. Raising the drinking age they had would make it more difficult for juveniles to obtain liquor from older friends. They want to raise it to 19, 20, or 21. Also aired was a fourth proposal that would retain the 18-year-old minimum for the purchase of alcohol consumed on the premises, but would raise the legal age to 19 for takeout sales. Doesn't make sense. But that was in 1977. Also on this day, America's space shuttle, the Enterprise, gets a piggyback ride atop a Boeing 747. They were doing weight and balance testing in preparation for the first flight later this month. The 122-foot-long orbiter is scheduled to begin taxi tests as early as next Tuesday and a flight test February 18th. In both tests, the Enterprise will be unoccupied and will just go along for the ride with the 747. Wouldn't you like to be a fly on the wall for that one? All right, let's look at the next story here. 2 for 3 is overloading. Mario Tonin, the superintendent of schools for SAD 40 in Waldoboro, was still wondering on Wednesday how a busload of 52 students in a vehicle rated for 66 passengers could be considered overloading. State Trooper Gregory Spitzer, in a complaint against an SAD 40 bus driver, said that it was overloaded since 13 inches or more did not separate any two students who occupied more than their share of some of the three-person seats. Superintendent Tonin said that the bus was stopped near Madomic Valley High School January 27th, and the driver, Alfred Willie, was cited for a violation of law. Tonin said Wednesday that he was going to Wiscasset District Court on March 4th with Willie and would fight the issue. He described the situation as asinine when asked about it on Wednesday. Tonin said that if a guilty finding is made against Willie, the school district will pay the fine, but if his license is suspended, there is nothing which can be done to help him. Trooper Spitzer, according to Tonin, boarded the stopped school bus with a ruler and measured the remaining third seating positions, and 7 or so didn't have 13 inches left over. There must have been 2 or 3 broad-beam students, Tonin said of the incident. We may have to conduct a different kind of survey next fall, Tonin said, and measure all the students. So I can see that measuring your before you get on the bus to see if you're going to take up too much room on your seat. On this day, 1977, New England had a good choice to be chosen as a site for a solar energy research center. Could be the biggest economic boost to the region in years. This from the president of the New England Council. Edward King told members of a 6-state region congressional delegation in Washington that New England has what it takes to support research and development in solar energy. And they go on and on. They were trying to sell this solar site. He said 18 other proposals were submitted for sites across the country. King had harsh words for the EPA's reversal of its approval for the cooling system at the nuclear power plant under construction in Seabrook. That action was the work of an obstructionist, not environmentalist. King said solar energy and nuclear-powered electricity could provide a way for the region to strengthen its chronically troubled energy situation. High energy prices in our region have already damaged our economy, and unless a shift is made to nuclear and solar power, the economy will be further damaged. New England must lessen its dependence on expensive and unreliable fuel from foreign sources. Oh, how times have changed. Also on this day, at Miller's Luncheon, you could get a hot hamburger sandwich plate. It's a hamburger sandwich served open-face with gravy, French fries, and coleslaw, soup of the day, coffee or soft drink, all for only $1.95. It was served today only 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. If you went there right now, you certainly would have missed it. How about Mammoth Mart, your save discount department store? They had some doorbusters on sale. It would have been February 10th, 11th, and 12th. You could get 49-ounce Tide box for $1.29. Do some t-shirts with that. Get them nice and clean. We had Quaker State 10W30 motor oil for 65 cents, and their regular was 79 cents. I need some of that right now. I think I ordered some. Windshield washer antifreeze, 79 cents a gallon. I just priced that. It's $19 for the low temp stuff online. Isn't that something? Reversible nylon oval braided rugs, $49.99, something for the cat to throw up a hairball on. That wasn't really cheap, was it? Man's band lawn knit shirts, $1.99. They're about the ugliest shirt you can imagine. Oh, well, we're not going to go into that one. Polaroid Pronto instant camera, $44.99. Those things are coming back. Misses and women's popular bras, 99 cents. How could a bra not be popular, huh? Polyester double knit 60-inch tie, easy care 100% polyester, just 99 cents, and they sold those ties by the yard, so you knew they were nice and wide. Breck shampoo, $1.09. President Biden likes that flavor. 100 tablets of Excedrin, $1.09. That's extra strong pain relief. It's got aspirin and caffeine. Kick your headache down and get you going. That was at Mammoth Mountain, North Street, Calais, Maine Coast Mall in Ellsworth, Route 1 in Presque Isle. They had one in Orono. Oh, for the good old days of Mammoth Mountain. You could get breakfast before you went at Gagan's, John Gagan's. Served every day from 7 to 11, not a minute before, not a minute after. Homemade bread, toast, and muffins. Something for everyone, ... And then 3 more dots, and everyone's pocket. In a hurry? We'll have you in and out in 15 minutes. I know what they're trying to say there. Dieting? Try our special low-calorie breakfast. How is that possible? Starved? If you're starved, our roundhouse steak and eggs are fit for a Gandhi dancer. Or maybe you want something different. Pan-browned, corned beef hash with egg, and buttermilk pancakes. Not only that, you could get breakfast, and then you could get entertainment Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, 9 to 1. That was at the Penobscot Inn across from the Auditorium, Main Street at Dutton in Bangor. Gagan's, of course, today is branched out. They've got some fine crafted beer. It's actually a great place to go for a snack and have a chat and chew there. Let's roll it back to this day. In 1894, there was a cut in wages ranging from 10 to 25% at the Richmond Shoe Factory. The cut does not affect the lasters. I don't know what the laster is. The Kennebec Journal, here's a report that a cut in wages was made at the Hollowell Shoe Factory Friday, running from 10 to 30%. William Bridgham of Auburn has leased the Buckfield Butter Factory for 5 years, in which he will engage in the business of bottling spring water. You go, William. And Ida May, who was the wife of A.D. Champney of Rockport, died Wednesday. You knew Ida, right? She was born in South Thomaston, Maine, May 6, 1858, came to Rockport 9 years ago. She endeared herself to the community. She was a worthy and consistent member of the Epworth League, a studious member of the Chautauqua Circle. She was also an active and faithful member of the Women's Relief Corps. The sympathy of all is extended her relatives in their great bereavement. It's important we remember these people. Here's a story about a tramp ordered out of the wash tub. A tramp's desire for clean clothing and the trouble it caused, an interesting case before the courts in Farmington. In the Farmington Municipal Court, before Judge Chandler, I bet he had mutton chops, right? There was brought on Friday an unkempt and forlorn tramp who had been pestering the people of New Sharon for some time past. When he took possession of a house during the absence of the male members of the family, and not only compelled the women to serve him a meal, but ordered the wash tub out and proceeded to launder his underclothing, forbearance ceased to be a virtue, and the man of the house, who had come in shortly after the shirt was washed, made him don it before it was dry, and kicked him off his premises, after which Deputy Sheriff Greenleaf arrested him and brought him before Judge Chandler, where he gave his name as Francis Frohammer and his residence as London, England. He pleaded guilty to the charge of vagrancy and was sentenced to 30 days in the county jail at Farmington and at once committed. I bet we could find a similar case from today. Times haven't changed much. Captain Dorr of the schooner Annie Quinner of Bucksport is in Gloucester, Mass. He arrived from Newfoundland. He reports that on January 30th, she passed the abandoned schooner Alert, apparently in good condition, and the Alert was a fishing vessel that struck on January 12th on the west coast of Newfoundland and was reported having gone to pieces and sunk. The report of the vessel drifting at this time has caused quite a sensation in shipping circles in view of various statements made by Captain Robbins and crew of the alert regarding her condition. Captain said it sunk. Obviously it didn't. It's probably some kind of insurance claim. Bill Cushman and his wife were riding on High Street in Buckfield, and their sleigh struck the railroad crossing. The top was thrown off and backwards. Mrs. Cushman fell on the track in an unconscious condition. The train was just steaming around the curve above, and those who ran to the rescue had barely time to remove her from the track before the train dashed by. Mrs. Cushman remained in a dazed condition a considerable length of time, but was able to ride home. Let's see what else we have here. Our smallpox story. Secretary Young of the State Board of Health, in view of the increased prevalence of smallpox in neighboring states, has sent out a circular to the local boards calling their attention to the law which requires the boards to provide free vaccination. The circular declares, in the opinion of the State Board of Health, it's very important there be a state strict compliance with the provisions of this act. An unvaccinated community is constantly in danger of an expensive and life-destroying outbreak of smallpox as a result of a chance introduction of its contagion. In the past, there have been too many disastrous smallpox outbreaks due to the neglect of vaccination. Of late years, our comparative exemption has been simply good luck. The Bath Orphan Asylum, the trustees of the Bath Military and Naval Orphan Asylum have reported to the governor and council. 66 children have been inmates the past year. 19 have gone to homes or been returned to their parents or relations, leaving 47 at the present time. Let's see. Buffalo Bill contemplates establishing a colony of Quakers on his ranch in Nebraska. He says, "My intention is to divide 4,000 acres of land into small holdings of 40 and 80 acres each. A Quaker family will occupy each holding. Each tenant is to build a substantial house and to cultivate the holding for 10 years. My idea is to establish a community of interest and to keep the property forever in the control of the Quaker set. I will thus, I hope, have 500 Quakers about me." Buffalo Bill. Now, this correspondent, when he was shaking his grandpa's hand way back in the 1970s, Grandpa said, "You're shaking the hand that shook the hand of Buffalo Bill and Wild Bill Hickok." He must have met them at a rodeo or something. So there's a little bit of, that's kind of an interesting little spin there, isn't it? Magazines devoted to electricity are on the increase, the last one received being the Electrical World. These are articles on many of the latest methods in which electricity is applied. Men well known in the electrical world are contributors to this magazine. In this day in 1894, they're having a magazine about electricity. The February publication of Astronomy and Astrophysics is received. All the latest researches in the astronomical world are recorded. Many of the articles are illustrated, and this is an excellent magazine for students of astronomy. Reverend Jesse Partridge and his wife have been confined to their home for several weeks with the grip. See, they're still getting the grip back then. Captain Crowley in Addison, he's confined to the house by illness. They don't say if it's grip or not. Mr. Walker of Machias is in Addison giving lessons to the ladies of the cornet band. Interesting. Captain H.E. Plummer of the schooner W.L. Plummer has sailed from New York for Puerto Rico, and Frank Sawyer of this town goes with him as a passenger, hoping the trip may benefit his health. Bucksport was voting on whether they wanted a new soldiers' home, and the state committee having the matter in charge have decided to bring it to a vote on March 15th. They ended up, of course, getting that soldiers' home there, and I think it's undergoing renovations right now. Let's see how we're doing on time. We better wrap it up. We have one more story about a tramp, just that there are a lot of tramps around. Anything else here of interest to you? A local trader has concluded to keep oysters in stock. That's not really news. The enterprises of the traveling photographer has reaped a reward in the lumber camps this winter. The logger enjoys being took. we should look up there must have been a lot of lumber camp pictures in 1894. Some of Bar Harbor's millionaire admirers should give to the village the town clock for which it sighs. Not very exciting. All right, let's look at the Maine state flower, which is not a flower. The white pine and white pine cone and tassel. Now, the white pine cone and tassel, Pinus strobus, was adopted by the legislature of 1895, right around the year of our report today. The white pine is considered to be the largest conifer in the northeastern U.S. The needles are soft, flexible, and bluish green to silver green in color and are regularly arranged in bundles of 5. Needles are 2.5 inches long, usually shed at the end of the second growing season. The flowers occur on the tree. The cones are 4 to 8 inches in length, usually slightly curved. The cone scales are thin and never have prickles. The cones also have a fragrant, gummy resin. Anything else on that? Adopted on February 1st, 1895. For the 1893 World's Fair in Chicago, states were asked to choose floral emblems. 3 candidates were chosen. 2, the goldenrod and the apple blossom, were genuine flowers, and the third was the pine cone and tassel. The pine cone won 10,000 of 17,000 votes, and that's when the white pine cone and tassel was adopted as Maine's state flower, February 1st, 1895. All right, that's about our podcast for today. That's enough for a Friday, right? Let's look at the weather forecast for today. Patchy dense fog before 10 a.m., otherwise cloudy, then gradually becoming mostly sunny with a high near 49, and this is February, mind you. For tomorrow, Saturday, sunny with a high near 32. It's going to cool off. The wind will be gusting up to 25 miles per hour. Looking out, Sunday will be sunny with a high of 40. And going through next week, again, temperatures above average, 30s and 40s. And then towards the end of next week, back up in the 50s again. That is the Downeast Mike podcast for today, Friday, February 10th, 2023. Until next time, this is Downeast Mike wishing you and your loved ones a day that is full of grace, love, and kindness. We'll see you.
One look at you and never forget about Harrison. Just keep your hands on the wheel, boy, and keep us headed out. While the woman loves the camera and the man wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah, I've run the boat for you. You run out of games to play. Two more weeks of filming here and then you'll be headed out. Just remember all the things that you and I had to talk about. Well, the captain loves the actress, and the woman wouldn't have it any other way. Yeah, I'll stay right here with you. Run out of games to play. Just remember all